views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. There is welcome news that the Bronx is now home to solar farms, with more on the way. It's welcome for many reasons. Certainly, in light of the recent Red Alert report on climate change, conserving energy to lessen the carbon footprint is vital. And for Bronx residential and business customers with skyrocketing energy costs, relief is welcome news. There are also jobs in this new source of energy, and of course that rings a bell for Bronxites, and certainly burning less fossil fuels will help Bronx air quality and help ward off airborne illnesses like asthma, which have been so devastating to the Bronx over the years. Solar farms in the Bronx is a big win-win-win. The borough president said if we're collaborative and aggressive about it, we can have 1 million homes powered by solar within 5 years. So tonight we take a look at the future that is beginning to look like the Bronx present. Please join me in welcoming the marketing director from OnForce Solar. It is Brooke, Ruggiero. Good evening. Nice to have you.
Good evening. Thank
and
you.
Also the chief venture officer from the HOPE program, an organization that empowers New Yorkers to build sustainable futures through job training and career support. That's where the jobs comes in. They do work hand in hand with our friends at Sustainable South Bronx. Tony Sheppard, Bloch, nice to have you with us.
Thanks so much.
Ms. Ruggiero, let's start with you. This, as I have characterized, is an exciting time for solar energy in the Bronx. Give me a little background before we get to the solar farms of the kinds of things that OnForce Solar has been doing leading up to the point where now we have farms, and you'll find out what that means in a moment.
Yeah, so OnForce Solar has been building commercial and industrial size solar farms for the past 10 years. So what are those? It's not residential solar and it's not utility scale, it's the in-between. Those are large rooftops, maybe on top of a warehouse or a hospital. Anywhere we see a giant rooftop that is just unused potential for solar energy. We also do ground mount projects, so maybe a landfill, we've done a couple of those. And we also do solar carports over parking lots.
So who has used those initial entry into the solar industry? You said it was commercial and industrial. So a business says, you know, I don't want to save money, there may be something out there for me. Then they go and, they'll contract with OnForce Solar, find a location, and then power the business. That's the way it's gone.
Exactly. It's mostly people looking to save money on electricity.
Boy, that would be terrible, wouldn't it? Just be horrible. And so once you've done that, okay, how busy was that through the initial period of, I guess, the creation of and the invention of solar energy? Was it very busy in the Bronx? And now we're going to talk about this expansion, which gets to me and you and the possibility for everybody.
It's definitely looked a bit like this in terms of scale. Solar energy's cost for installation has drastically dropped in the past few years, and it's continuing to drop. So more people are installing solar energy because it's actually the cheapest form of energy right now, where if we talk 5-10 years ago, people chose to install a solar energy system because they wanted to help the environment, not necessarily to save money. So that has been transformational.
And just to guess, and we don't have to get into it at length, the reason that it's dropped is because They're manufacturing more of it. There's a little more competition, like I guess any business that develops, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, the technology has gotten better, the manufacturing processes have gotten better, and the panels themselves, solar panels, have gotten more efficient. So a system will create more energy in the same amount of space, and it will be cheaper to install it.
Now we're at the point where you had a big ribbon cutting, and Bronxnet was there. We're going to show some footage of some of the panels and the other things that Bronxnet shot. So you did the ribbon cutting. What is the difference between what we're doing now versus what you did in the past?
Yes, so...
I'm sorry I didn't bring my drum set. We could have done a drum roll to present it.
Yeah, so that ribbon cutting was for a community solar farm. And community solar is new in New York City. Where we did that ribbon cutting is the third community solar farm in the Bronx. We only just turned on the first 2 community solar farms in the Bronx in August of this year.
Right.
So what is community solar?
My follow-up is who gets the energy? I mean, who's
Exactly.
benefiting from the farm?
So
to speak?
historically, a building would have to consume the energy it produces, or you could send all of it to one other facility, and that would be remote net metering. What community solar is and what's new is now we're sending all of the energy that that solar system creates, and we're sending it back to Con Edison. So anyone in New York City who is a Con Edison customer
right.
could choose to get solar energy from one of our community solar farms.
One of the issues in solar energy throughout the country is the notion of the transmission lines. Okay, so we're going to build this thing, but how are we going to get it to individual homes? This seems to me to be a very clever way around that. Number one, then Con Ed doesn't feel that they're being competed with, and number two, you're using their transmission lines, which frankly are, I mean, you don't have to build new infrastructure throughout the borough of the Bronx.
Yeah, I mean, we partner with Con Edison, have been working with them for 10 years. So when you tell me I want solar energy, we just wire it to Con Edison and tell them Gary wants solar energy.
Calling for Gary. Let's just use me as an example. My building, I live in an apartment building in the Bronx, and my apartment building says, we think this is a great idea. We think we can save money. We call up OnForce Solar. If there is a place already for that infrastructure, you'd work with us. Or can you immediately say, okay, the existing places we have, we get you a space and we can feed you electricity?
Yeah, so you have a Con Edison bill, I assume. Even
don't bring up bad news on my program.
Almost everyone does. So even you don't need your whole building to say, we want to do this. You alone as a renter can choose for the first time ever to get solar energy.
We do that through Con Ed?
You would do that through OnForce Solar.
Brooke wants the phone. Hello.
You would do it through OnForce Solar or another community solar sign-up program.
I want to bring our quiet friend into the conversation, Tony Sheppard, Bloch. Talk to me about the opportunities. Now, I know that OnForce has worked with the HOPE program. Talk to me about the opportunities this is creating for Bronxites.
Yeah, we're really focused on making sure that communities that have shouldered disproportionate burdens from the causes and the effects of climate change have an opportunity to work in mitigating the problem and build the infrastructure of the 21st century.
So they get something out of it.
Absolutely. For years, Bronx residents have hosted really noxious industrial uses, waste transfer stations, sewer treatment plants, sort of all the infrastructure of the city that's been undesirable has been really concentrated in these geographies. And all of that infrastructure has created the root drivers of climate change, the fossil fuel industry. And so we think it's critical that the communities that have really suffered under that burden now get some jobs out of fixing it.
Well, get some jobs, and then also those jobs, you want to change the problem, then work in the the new energy business, so to speak. Are we at a point now where we can start to talk about how many employees are so far involved in these solar farms, and then what jobs do they get? And I really hope people are thinking to themselves, hey, I need a job. My friend needs a job. Can I get a job in this industry? look how we'll be changing the Bronx and changing the world. That's the idea.
That's absolutely the idea. We launched just today a new paid solar training program generously funded by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And we have solar providers calling us up and looking for placements after the training is over, offering us internship opportunities. We really feel the scale of this is changing. And one of the things we love about the solar industry is that it's easy for workers to attach at the entry level as an installer, working with panels and racking systems, but there's a really robust career ladder for advancement. So they can become project supervisors, project managers, project developers.
And just thinking about the careers that could be involved. So we're talking about people maybe who have so-called blue-collar skills and blue-collar jobs. They could do that. But then people who are in college, of course, this is why we've got to build our STEM infrastructure in our schools. They can get those jobs moving up the ladder. And certainly if you're a younger person and you can work in a trade skill, you go back to college, right, and do that. I mean, am I thinking the right? I'm trying to get people jobs here.
Yeah, so like a lot of the engineering jobs definitely require an advanced education.
Well, of course.
But there are other jobs in the solar ecosystem that you can really become qualified for through on-the-job training and just experience.
Is it realistic to say what Ms. Ruggiero is alleging, that the industry is growing, so now there really is a growth opportunity for jobs? In other words, it's not just you saying because you want to make it happen, it's really out there.
Absolutely.
I do want to ask you about the numbers, because I did ask you, could we say 10, 20, 100? I mean, characterize it.
I don't have the numbers at the tip of my fingers, but there are thousands of solar jobs in New York State.
Wow. Okay, and more coming in the Bronx.
And more coming in the Bronx.
Wow, exciting. I want to show some things, okay?
Please.
So people will understand what it is, and then I want to ask you about the nature of the solar panels. There's a couple of pictures, I think we're going to show them, of solar farms in the Bronx already. So they're going to put them on one of the screens here. There we go, okay? We're going to see it in just a moment. This is what a solar farm looks like. I think are we going to put that up here, folks? There it is. Okay. This is what the solar farm looks like. Explain what it is and where is this?
Yeah, so that is a rooftop community solar farm in Port Morris in the Bronx. That was the first community solar farm in the Bronx, so that's a really exciting project.
Again, I wish I had my drum for the drum roll. And what building is that on top of?
Yeah, it's a storage facility. And it's actually right now between tenants. So actually the building most days consumes no energy. So it has this huge rooftop, which is perfect for installing solar panels. We probably have 1,000 solar panels.
Why is it relevant that it has, it doesn't use a lot of energy?
Well, I'll tell you, because it's got this great real estate to install a solar system, but if it's not using energy, that makes it a perfect candidate for community solar. So we can produce the energy there and redistribute it
rather
elsewhere,
than use it to have it.
because they don't need the energy.
You know, I had mentioned that I was going to talk about this at the beginning of the show. We have all of these storage facilities in the Bronx. I wonder about what they could be used for. Like this photograph on 136th Street tells us, I don't know, is that a storage facility?
It is, yeah.
Wow. So you don't need the under infrastructure, maybe other than the rooftop. You can just put these down. Now we're looking at that, and that's on 136th and Walnut.
Yeah.
About how many facilities, homes, businesses are served by something that size?
Yeah, so it produces enough energy to power about 200 average households. We have
200 now. Does that includes individual homes or apartment buildings?
Yeah, so an average household in New York. Mm-hmm. We have, though, about 100 subscribers to that community solar farm, because we're not just getting renters. We also have churches and schools and small businesses who use a bit more energy than your average household, who can choose to get solar energy through one of these farms.
And everybody who's involved in that are saving energy, money. I think one of the
Everyone.
numbers was 8 to 12%.
Yes. So on average, if you decide to sign up for a year subscription of solar energy, you'll save 10%
Wow.
month to month.
Right away. How
Right away.
long does it take for an individual to go through the process? Say, okay, because there are going to be people who are watching us right now and say,
Yeah.
well, this is just a great idea, and I certainly want to help the environment more. As important, I want to help my own pocketbook. How can I do it? How long does it take? And then I want to ask you some other technical things about it. Go ahead.
Yes, signing up takes no more than 5 minutes. Really, all you need is your Con Edison account number because, again, we partner with them to distribute that energy.
So you call, I really want to get into this.
Yeah,
You call
yeah.
Con Ed,
No,
start with you.
start with us. So if you go to onforcesolar.com, you can go right from there, give me your name, some contact info details, and enter your Con Edison account number, or just upload a picture of your last electric bill. And from there, then we'll put you on a queue for the next
Available
The next
spot that will
available
handle
spot.
the load that you need.
Exactly.
What
And,
about apartment buildings?
do you mean for a renter within an apartment building?
Well, let's just say a property owner says, I got a building, and let's let everybody save a little money. I'll save
Yeah.
on my energy costs, and of course the buildings will save on theirs. Here's I was talking about the footage. Here's some of the footage that Bronxnet shot. It's wonderful footage, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, really anyone could do it. If an apartment building owner wanted to provide that as an incentive to all of their tenants, then by all means, they would again go through the same process of contacting us, and we might take a bit longer to get them a spot if they use more energy. But we would just get them in the queue and make them, the primary stakeholder of one of these community solar farms.
The possibilities are immense, it seems to me. So,
Yeah.
because I realize, many of us like me live in an apartment building, and our energy is collective in the building, and it's dealt with in that fashion. If the building then calls up and the management calls up, you could really do it. We
Yeah.
could really do this.
We could really do it.
There you go. Let's talk about people who were trained to get the jobs. How do they train to get the jobs so that they can do some of these things? Because that's also a big part of this.
Absolutely. So we're serving New Yorkers that are facing significant barriers to employment. So histories of incarceration, substance addiction, homelessness, structural unemployment, people that have never held a job in their adult lives. And so a big part of what we're doing is what we call soft skills. We're making sure that they're mentally and physically ready for the rigors of work. And that means showing up on time, having a great attitude. And then once we've satisfied those conditions, we blend classroom instruction with hands-on training. We partner with fabulous organizations like OnForce that host our groups up on their roofs where people can be out in the field and really learn to do it.
They pay for training?
No, sir.
Wow.
We pay them.
That's kind of, in other words, it becomes a job as long as you're assessed to qualify for that position.
Yep.
Just to expand the dialogue a little bit for the whole organization. I know this is not the only thing that you do. I think it's important for people to know about what it is. So talk to me a little bit more about the range of job training. We've been focusing on solar, but I know there's a lot more you do. We'll give you a chance to talk about that.
Sure. In the Bronx, we run a green-collar job training program that is bigger than just solar. It's sustainability and building construction broadly. So as we see all the redevelopment that's happening in the borough right now, a lot of developers are really relying on environmental sustainability strategies, and we want to make sure that the local workforce has the skills and resources to jump in on that. And then in Brooklyn, we run a general industry track and a food service track. So if you're looking for a career in industrial food production or in food serving or in clerical work, we can help you out in Brooklyn with that.
So many people in the Bronx and really all over the city, all over America, are looking for work. Picking up the phone or getting into what you do could very well open up a range of possibilities, couldn't it?
75% of the people that complete our programming are employed 1 year later.
Wow, unbelievable. I want to ask Ms. Ruggiero about the role of Con Edison in this whole thing. They're not upset In other words, they've built all this infrastructure. They don't care. I mean, what's their attitude toward this?
They don't really lose out because you're still their customer. Right? The wires from your home connect to Con Edison. That's the way the grid works. So where the energy comes from, it's better off renewable and clean than dirty coal.
Fascinating. Is there a loss? Is there a difference in, and by the way, we're showing some of the pictures of other solar farms in other locations and different places. Is there a difference? Will people notice different energy? Like somehow, sometimes when you get a brownout and you say, gee, and the lights go down? Or no difference?
No, if anything, your energy would be more secure. So hypothetically, if there was some terrible accident and your community solar farm made no energy today, you would still get electricity from Con Edison. You're never not going to have enough energy at your house.
So this relationship with Con Edison is really vital to make this work as well as it's worked. Because if you didn't have that, you'd have to be, as I mentioned earlier, the infrastructure you'd have to be doing, it'd
be massive.
Be massive.
Yeah.
Is this a unique kind of inventive concept? Or is this really duplicating what's gone on maybe in some other places that have done it ahead of us?
New York State is not the first state to implement a community solar model.
It's okay, I'm not insulted.
Maybe we're one of 30, roughly. But this model has the potential to unlock solar energy's potential in New York City because it really is a win-win-win. More jobs are created, there's more money within the community going around from these new jobs. The people who subscribe for the energy are saving 10% on electric bills. That just pumps back into the community. And the building owners who choose to install these solar farms on their roofs or their property, they're also
getting some rent. Are they getting?
Exactly.
Presumably, you rent the space. I mean, so if you have a warehouse or a big building, you can rent out that space. It's obviously not earning space right now.
That's exactly it.
I'm going out to buy a building.
It creates a new revenue stream.
I'm sorry.
It creates a new revenue stream, and for 25 years. You can,
Well, presumably you're not going to uninstall the thing. 25 years is the contract. Then you look at a new deal.
Yeah.
What about the future for expansion? How fast? Like in other words, can I assume you're looking at other properties in the Bronx and places? And you say
we're always looking.
Always looking. And how is it going? How available are spaces?
So
we know the political infrastructure in the Bronx, where I've already mentioned the borough president, is behind it.
Availability is not an issue because we are using unused space. What community solar helps is it's more profitable than ever before. It's a higher return on investment and a quicker one to install these solar systems now. So if you owned a warehouse and maybe you said, it's not worth it to save 50% on energy in the past. Now you could make millions of dollars over the course of just by owning one of these. So it is definitely more profitable than ever before, and that is why we're seeing scale again in the number of installations.
Among the issues that have come up in the past, because we've had dialogues, but it's never been this advanced, is availability of solar panels, of the technology, building the thing. Do they come out of the Bronx? Do you manufacture them here? Do you get them from elsewhere? And if you do get them from elsewhere, is the availability there? Because if that dries up, then of course the price goes up.
Yeah, you're talking about the solar panels?
The solar panels themselves. We know where we're getting the workforce.
Yeah.
You nudge the guy right next to you.
Solar panels are not manufactured in the Bronx. They come from all over the world, though.
They do? Okay.
Yeah, there are U.S.-based facilities, maybe in the West.
And
some
so they
in
get
Canada.
shipped and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. But then there's so much more that goes into it than just the panels. There's this racking, right, that we have to keep the solar panels angled to get the most sunlight in a day. And then with the workforce, someone has to install that, and crews, we'll have maybe 5, 6 people working on a rooftop at a time when we're installing these, and someone to manage it, right? To say, we need.
Well, your friend next to you was saying, check, we'll get that, we'll get that.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And as far as the clean and the technology, once you put them there, do they move or tip to the sun or anything like that, or they just stay there flat and collect the solar energy?
There are solar panels that will move throughout the course of a day. On a rooftop, we're not going to do.
There's nothing. You just put them up
We
there.
put them there. They stay.
And they're weather resistant.
Yeah.
And this is, forgive the ignorance of this question. A cloudy day doesn't matter, anything like that. The sun, God willing, comes up every morning.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Toby, Sheppard, Bloch, let's get to you and get the final contact info for people who hear what you're saying and saying, I want to be part of it. I want to, be part of a career that works for me and, of course, helps the Bronx and the world. What do they do to get to you?
Just go to www.thehopeprogram.org.
Thehopeprogram.org.
We've got info sessions every week where you can come and learn about our programmings and the opportunities to make a better future.
Where in the Bronx?
We're in Hunts Point at
Oh, that's right,
1360
of course.
Garrison
I
Avenue.
knew that, I'm sorry. So they're in Hunts Point on Garrison Avenue.
Yep.
Great. All right, now, homeowners, business owners, people who own landlords and developers who own properties, how do they get to you and how do they become part of this program?
Yeah, and renters.
And renters, excuse me. So individuals who rent can still do it if they're paying an individual Con Ed bill.
That's correct. Yep. So visit www.onforce, that's ONFORCE, solar.com, and you can sign up in less than 5 minutes.
Wow. You sign up and then somebody will get back to you? Or
Yeah, we will let you know when your solar farm is built.
Is there availability right now, or is there some
We
waiting?
We are currently developing 9 more community solar farms in New York City. So there is loads
So
of
you
availability.
could conceive, I mean, of course, we're always prejudiced toward the Bronx here. So even if a solar farm is not in the Bronx, and it wouldn't matter because Con Ed has...
It doesn't matter if you're in one of the 5 boroughs and a Con Edison account.
we have seen the future, and it's sitting around this table. So Toby, Sheppard, Bloch from the Hope Program, thank you so much. Brooke, Ruggiero, thank you so much for changing the world, helping us move things forward in the Bronx. I'm just excited about it. I think it's wonderful, and I can guarantee you, when I go back home, the first thing is going to be to the people, the property managers, and saying, hey, let's save money. Let's do it right. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And folks, if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at BronxTalk@BronxNet.org. You can send a tweet at Bronx Talk, or you post them on our Facebook page. We'll read them on the air during a future edition of the program. And you can check out the archives at BronxNet.org. You find Bronx Talk by following the watch menu on the nice new Bronxnet website. We thank our producer, Helen Greenberg. Our director is Nick Marrero. And we will see you next week. Good night.